People need to pay more attention to what's going on because it's horrifying. We're just allowing someone to come in and destroy our country and give it all to Putin because he wants to be friends with Putin. Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist. He must be stopped. We tried to stop him at the polls, but too many people are fucking stupid and decide to put a domestic terrorist back into office so that he can destroy our country like he said he was going to do. He said he was going to be a dictator on day one. Oh, only for day one, right? No. He's doing it now. He called himself a king. He said, Time Magazine put out "Long Live the King." This is insane. We got rid of a king and a dictatorship back in 1776, and we fought for it, and people died for it. We then went on and had a civil war, and you assholes lost that one. Now you want to come in and try to take over and give Ukraine back to Putin? Oh, this is his land. This is where he used to have this, so he's allowed to go in and get it. Fuck you! He went in with aggression. He decided to take over the entire country, and then Ukraine pushed back because we were able to provide them tanks and bombs and all those things that we were getting rid of from the 90s. So the problem is that people are too dumb, and the media is complicit in all of this. They're allowing it to happen. They aren't checking anything that people are saying, fact-checking anything that people are saying. They're allowed to go on air and say bullshit that is destroying our country and putting us all at risk because some asshole was like, you can't call me bad names because I'm a dictator and I'm going to threaten you if you call me bad names. And that's where we're at, is that some child who doesn't like getting made fun of is getting made fun of and he's mad about it. And so is taking it out on all of us. Everyone here needs to pay attention and start focusing on what is actually going on and not giving into this bullshit that he's talking about on all these other levels. Like, he goes to the Daytona 500, and they spend a whole time on it while Elon Musk is destroying our country, and he's a fucking immigrant. He doesn't belong in this country. His net worth has grown 170 billion since the election, and you guys are saying that he's going to take away $45 million and Doge is doing a good job. Don't get me fucking started on Doge. It was a meme coin going through and destroying everything that we put in for the last 250 years, and now he wants to go and take it and say we're going to take it all back and give it to some asshole dictator who actually isn't being a dictator to anybody else but the people that he wants to hurt. So he's being very nice to all the people who he doesn't want to hurt, but all the people who he thinks hurt him, he's gonna make sure have pain. But it doesn't matter because we're all affected by everything that he does, no matter what he chooses, because it's an interconnected society. You can't just take entire forms of government that have been functioning for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 years and destroy them because you are not happy with the fact that some people don't like you being called a dictator. So you're going to get upset and destroy our lives, and it's all for retribution, and you made it seem that you were just going to go after only the people who hurt the MAGA, and that's why they fucking voted for you, and now you're taking away their farms because you're a fucking idiot and you don't understand how the economy works. You want to destroy the economy so you can rebuild it in your own image and claim that it's Donald Trump's country now, and that's how you're going to try and start a dictatorship through idiocy. We're going back into idiocracy all over again, and it's insane. You assholes want to say, oh no, it's not a documentary. It is, because we aren't paying attention. We need to start paying attention and focus on what the future is. AOC and Jasmine Crockett are the only ones in the House who are doing this, and Bernie Sanders is the only one in the Senate who's really pushing this hard. The leadership in the House needs to go. Hakeem Jeffries came in saying, oh, I'm going to do all these things, and then he said, oh, we're going to act like Aaron Judge? Swing at some pitches? Don't swing at all of them. We only need to hit 500 to be an amazing batter. Yeah, but that's not how it works in the federal government, asshole. We have to actually fight for every single fucking thing, and they're throwing everything at the wall so that because they know you're not going to do anything about it. AOC should be in charge, or someone in that faction of people who are willing to fight for us. We escaped a king and a monarchy because people fought and died, and you assholes can't even go and fight for every pitch? Are you kidding me? You're not even going after the ones that are important. The fact that Elon Musk is in there and destroying everything, that's your fucking job. Why are you pushing harder for that? You need to start paying attention and focus on what they're doing, because they're destroying the country and putting us into a civil war and into oblivion. They're trying to make Putin more powerful, and that way that he's going to go and say, "Oh, I'm going to defer to Putin," like he did in the first term. He's a piece of shit. He's a terrorist. He tried to overthrow the government, and apparently did, because the Democrats are pieces of shit and can't actually get their act together and do fucking anything. Chuck Schumer, resign. Put someone else in leadership who's actually gonna fucking do something. I'm sick of this. We're gonna toe the line while they're destroying democracy. You literally, I called my reps, and they said, "Stop yelling at me, we're gonna end this conversation." Well, do your fucking jobs, asshole. We wouldn't have to be yelling if you weren't fucking if you were doing your job. The fact that you're not doing your job is why we're yelling. You allowed this sham to occur, and you're just sitting there saying, "Well, what can we do? We can't do anything." Yes, you can. Fucking fight for it. Fucking use that information that AOC is putting out and do something about it. Grow a fucking spine. The Republicans sure haven't. Our institutions that we care so deeply about, that the Republicans and apparently, no, the Republicans aren't. Elon Musk and Trump are just destroying, and the Republicans are going, "What are we supposed to do? He has all the power." Because you fucking gave it to him. You allowed him to have this bullshit, and this is what he did with it. This is how it happens. It becomes this bullshit. I don't know if I want to go after him. Apparently some Democrat donors are afraid of him. Why the fuck are you afraid of him? He does not like being pushed back on, so fucking push back on him. He's a coward. He stands behind all of these domestic terrorists that he then pardoned because you assholes were like, they're being treated poorly. They fucking tried to kill our democracy and destroy our country. And they almost did. Now you're going to allow them out and do nothing about it? Hey, Merrick Garland, good job. You did absolutely nothing and left these pieces of shit to go out and destroy our country, and you were like, well, I don't want to play politics, and in doing so, you played fucking politics. I don't understand how you wouldn't say, I'm following the fucking law, and these assholes aren't allowed to do this. You know, maybe defend the 14th Amendment, Section 3, where he's a domestic terrorist and an insurrectionist and committed sedition and should not be able to be allowed to be in office. You need to start fighting these things because you clearly didn't do it enough in the lead up to the election because you don't have a fucking message. You need to focus on a fucking message, and that message needs to be clear. It's not clear what you actually care about if you're going to say we're going to swing at 30% of the pitches, 40% of the pitches. That's not how you keep track of democracy. Well, what if they destroy 60%? That's not as bad as 100. Yeah, they shouldn't be destroying any percent. Start taking your responsibilities back that Congress is required to do. You need to start getting some of these Republicans who are on the line of they hate it, but they're going along with it because they're being threatened by some piece of orange shit. You need to actually fight for what we have. They're gonna take it all from us. I don't know what my future is, but from a perspective of the future for this country needs to be fucking clear. No domestic terrorists, no Nazi sympathizers who are going to go in and say, oh, well, we're just going to remove this little bit. We're going to remove this little bit. You voted for a guy because he said he was going to get rid of the people who don't look like you, who are, quote, illegal. and then he's doing all the illegal things behind your back and then making everyone's life miserable and not actually getting rid of the problem. The problem isn't a fucking wall. The problem isn't deporting people that we need to function as a country, because apparently they don't understand how a system of Americans not wanting to do certain jobs, so they're like, well, why don't we get foreigners to do it? And then when foreigners do it, you go, well, now they're taking American jobs. Well, you can't have it all both ways. You need to fight for the fucking things that matter, and you need to take it into account that you are elected, and you should be taken out of leadership if you are not able to go along with that and actually focus on the future. Focus on the present. Focus on the past. Focus on something. Do something, because you're not doing shit right now. You're allowing this to happen and complaining about it, but you're not actually doing anything. You're not getting angry. Why aren't you angrier? This is a problem that you need to solve and we need to solve, but you're not doing it, so we're gonna have to. I'm not gonna live under a fucking dictatorship because some asshole's like, I don't want to hurt the orange card. Well, you should have hurt the orange con. I'm sick and tired of a convicted felon being a con man at the same time, and people are like, he's doing good for the country. He's lying to you. He's telling you all these things that he's never going to do. He doesn't care about MAGA. He only cares about himself and the people that are around him. There's a video from CGP Grey that's Rules for Rulers. And it basically focuses on how you destroy a country and also gain your dictatorship while also pleasing certain people to make sure that you're doing enough to keep yourself in power. So that's the problem, is that people aren't willing to speak up. I called my Congress people, and they after January 6th, and they were like, what do you want us to do? Fucking do something. Be louder. Say, like, this needs the fact that he was able to get away with that, and Merrick Garland is a piece of shit who couldn't figure out how to do his job. Then we need to figure out how to do our job ourselves, because we cannot live under a dictatorship, an idiocy dictatorship too. It's being led by a guy who wants to be buddy-buddy with Putin, and instead of doing anything to support our country, he's saying, well, Zelensky's a dictator. Zelensky's not a dictator. Putin's the dictator. You may not like Hillary Clinton, but she was right about Trump being Putin's puppet. So I don't understand why people are surprised that these things are happening, and why aren't they getting angrier? I struggle with it in my own family. People are too stupid to understand it. Like, they literally are voting against things that got them here in the first place. My ancestors came over in the early 1900s because of the fact that we were escaping a genocide. The same people who then their kids and those kids are now voting for Trump and saying, well, we need to keep those people out. You are the fucking reason that we're here in the first place. Me. Because our family came over here and you fucking decided to ruin their memory. How many people in our family fought for in different wars? And you're going to just allow all of that to go for nothing, and you're going to allow them to do all this shit because you're not afraid of the consequences of whatever that might happen, because you're not willing to take those risks. You should be taking those risks, Congress, instead of being like, well, we'll fight for 30%. 30%'s good, right? Batting 300's great. Batting 400's even better. Imagine if we bat 500. How about bat 1,000 and go after these things all? You need to put these into a storyboard form and see how this is playing out. I don't understand why you aren't looking at it as a maze and trying to get to the end of the maze first. Get to the end, figure out where they're going, and then push back on all the things that they're doing. That's how you get back to the beginning. But we can't, because you guys did absolutely nothing after January 6th to push back on this. And you should have been saying, these assholes who were in Congress, who are insurrectionists, should not be here. Then you're going along with it. Imagine if we had people who are actually willing to fight. Fight using something that you need to create. AOC created an event and was leading that event. You guys need to do more of those things. You need to get out there. You need to have people calling. People need to call and make you miserable because apparently it's not working because you're just going along with it. How many people who were in Congress and on a Democratic side or MAGA right still went to the inauguration and you were able to be, all buddy-buddy with everyone while they're destroying everything? You need to start acting like you care. You need to start acting like there's a point to all of what you are doing. There is no point. You are fighting for apparently nothing. You are taking all of the things that our families fought for in World War II, not just mine, everyone's, and you're basically saying, let's ignore all of that. Let's take all of that and say, nope, we're not going to do any of it. We're going to allow this asshole to take over, and we're going to fight for, the concept of these institutions, but not these actual institutions. After the election, they just were like, we're going to accept the answer. The reason the Republicans won is because they keep fighting even if they lose. I'm not saying go storm the Capitol. I'm not saying do anything illegal. But the fact is you did shit. I called multiple people, the House, the Senate. I called my reps. I encouraged other people to call their reps. I did all these things to try to get people to be more involved. And you assholes can't do one fucking thing. You want to try to say you're doing something, and then you're allowing it to all happen. You're taking this for granted, and you're assuming that it will come back and we'll be able to take this back in 2026. What if there are no elections? There's enough people in the state governments of these places who now have more Trump support who are willing to do this, and you're just going to ignore it. So you're going to say, oh yeah, we'll get them in 2026. It's all good. We're just doing this because we're supporting the institutions. The institutions are dead. The Supreme Court said that he's a domestic terrorist that is allowed to get away with whatever the fuck he wants. And you guys didn't push back on that and say, this is an outrage. We need to start doing more and more and more. I put a hole through my wall because of the Supreme Court decision. I'm angry. Why aren't you angrier? This is pissing me off, and as you can tell, it's pissing other people off. We don't want to live under a king. We don't want to live under a king of idiocy. So you're going to allow idiocy to take place because you don't want to upset anything. They're trying to destroy everything. You're trying to defend something that they're trying to destroy and saying, well, we need to act appropriately to make sure that we don't seem like hypocrites. But apparently you don't understand what the fight was for. You wanted to make it about all these social things, and look, I'm all for it. But the middle of the country said, what the fuck? And you guys were like, no, we're going to get more people. You couldn't convince 90 million people who didn't vote to go out and do their civic duty and make sure that a domestic terrorist doesn't take over? How could you not convince that? You had all the evidence. You could have been pushing that every single day. You should have been. You should have been pushing back on all these lies. All these lies that they've been pushing on TV and the media is just accepting. I was bullshit when CNN put on a domestic terrorist and were giving him airtime, and then Anderson Cooper had the nerve to tell me that I'm the one who needs to pay attention to him because he might be the Republican nominee and he might be the next president. You are bowing to him. Stand up to him. You started to do that at one point and then you faltered on it. I'm not sure why you're going to let this happen. You have integrity. You had integrity. You lost all of it, and most of the media did too. You had a chance to get your image back, and instead you literally did the same thing you did in 2016. You pushed bullshit information that didn't have anything to do with what we were fighting for, and then you're like, well, why are they talking about anything else but what we need them to talk about? Because you're not talking about it! You need to go and actually make a difference, actually do something that will make it seem like the Democrats are fighting for something. The Republicans kept fighting even though for their people and saying, oh, we're actually running a shadow government while Biden's running his government. And then they allowed him to get back in. That whole 45 to 47, it's not 45 and 47, it's 45 through 47, which he's an idiot and doesn't understand. He wants to sit there and say, I did all of these things, but then blame Biden for all the things that he didn't do. I don't understand how people are just taking all this information and ignoring it and then saying, how are we going to push back on him? With facts. Be the governor of Maine. Mills. Janet Mills, I think she decided to push back on him, and when she said, I'm following the state and local laws, and he said, well, what about federal law? And she was like, I'll follow federal law that makes sense for common sense. Or whatever she said. But, he pushed back and said, you better comply, or else if you don't, I'm going to take away your federal funding. And her response was, we'll see you in court. And then as a baby, he was like, oh yeah, I'll see you in court, it'll be an easy win, and then you won't actually have a future in political or in elected politics because I'm going to destroy your image and you're never going to make it out again because I'm a baby and I can't take someone pushing back on me. He's an asshole. He doesn't actually have a spine. He just looks like he has a spine because people allow him to do it. If you don't push back on him, he's gonna do it again. Fucking Susan Collins saying, oh, I think he learned his lesson. Really, Susan? Do you think he did learn his lesson? How about now? Do you think he's now doing the job of being all for the people while he's destroying everything and Elon Musk makes $170 billion since the election as a profit, and he spent $44 billion on Twitter to turn into X, and then use that to push right-wing bullshit and allow all these bots and assholes to come back onto the platform and ruin it for everyone. So now we have to go to a different platform because we can't get logic out into a bullshit universe where you made shit up. This is all about fake news. Yeah, fake news. Your fake news. Your fake news. Fox is fake news. OAN is fake news. Newsmax is fake news. Even the Wall Street Journal is pushing back on Trump right now. I'm so confused how you people think that he's this economic genius when he's had bankruptcies and done absolutely nothing besides push his name, and that's how he got where he is. He started by saying, my father did all of this, and I'm going to use that to get a spot in a magazine. And he used that spot to get in a magazine and then say, look how rich I am. I made it into Fortune's 500 or whatever he was in. And that's the point, is that he uses one thing to get to another, and destroy people just so that he can make more money, and then lose it again. Why is it that the recessions under the last couple of recessions we've had have been under Republican presidents, and then the Democrats had to come in and fix it, and then they destroy it again? Bill Clinton left you a surplus, not debt-free, a surplus, meaning we were making more money that year than we were making the previous year, and we knocked down the debt a little bit because we were able to actually have more money in the system than we actually needed, and we were able to pay that down, which reduced the cost on all Americans. But no, you had to go and allow this asshole to do all these things, and because you've never pushed back on him, he's then been allowed to go through and do more. Do you really think that he was, if no one pushed back on him, he wasn't going to do it again? He was going to commit a coup either way. He was going to complete his coup either way because you assholes didn't do anything to push back on him. I'm sick of this fucking bullshit where all these people don't have an idea as to what's going on because they're looking at, oh, well, this happened and DEI is the problem. Fuck DEI. It's not the problem. DEI is not the problem. You are the problem. You are the problem for saying DEI is the problem because you don't understand what DEI is. And then you put in Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. You put Kash Patel, who writes his name with a fucking money sign. Are you fucking kidding me? We live in the upside down world because people aren't paying attention. The people need to start paying attention and focus on what is going on. You say politics don't matter. Politics do fucking matter. They can destroy people's lives, and they're voting for it. The people who lost their farms, or who are losing their farms, are because assholes froze their federal aid. All these people who voted for the pain for others got the pain themselves, and then they're crying to Trump saying, why did you do this? Why won't you help me? The economy was good under Biden. It wasn't great. It was good. But we had to deal with the fact that we had a pandemic that was global. There was global inflation due to a pandemic where millions of people died, over 1 million in our country, and apparently no one cares about them, but you were all about Barack Obama and his death panels. And, oh no, I don't want the government deciding whether or not my family can live or die. Okay, well, apparently you let that happen with Trump. Where are all my people who are like, oh, I'm a staunch conservative who likes small government? Then get the fuck out of people's wombs. Stay out of the bedroom. It shouldn't matter to you what other people do. If they're not hurting anyone, and by anyone I mean actually physically, you're seeming to think that, oh no, these transgender ideologies are going to make my child more transgender. No, it means that you're educating your child. I'm sick of these assholes being like, oh, we shouldn't have medical marijuana, and then be like, but I'm going to drink this 30-pack of Bud Light. Yeah, it wouldn't be Bud Light, sorry. I take that back. They got on a bad situation. They made things bad for MAGA. So MAGA decided, you know what, we're going to boycott Budweiser. Don't even know how to spell Budweiser because they're fucking idiots. These assholes think that they're smart because other people are telling them that the president, quote, president, is smart. He's not. He's an idiot. He's not a genius. All these people are saying that are just licking his ass and saying, why aren't you able to do more? Well, because they're already licking your ass. Why don't you actually stop and actually do something for the American people instead of acting like you are the king? You are not a king. So people should push back on you, and you should listen to them and take it as, let's see if we can do this a different way. But no, you decided you wanted to have this whole thing that you thought if you had a coup and it was successful, then you would be king. And you tried that in 2021, and it failed. It failed. And you should have been in jail the next day. The fact is that people don't actually give a shit about what's happening because Fox News and all these other assholes are pushing out fake information, and some people don't even know what January 6th is and what it entails and why people are so angry. You had a Republican congressman who went to have a town hall with people, and he was like, you people are yelling the same way that the January 6th people were yelling. The January 6th people weren't yelling. They were attacking the Capitol, where you work. You just allowed it to happen because it was on your side. But then people get together and say, this isn't right, and you call it a fucking insurrection because you're trying to dumb down the word and make it seem like, oh, everybody does an insurrection, so who the fuck cares? We care, motherfucker. How dare you say to us that we have to calm down and listen to you when you're the one telling us that Donald Trump is doing what he is for the American people and that's what we voted for? No, that's not what we voted for. Some people voted for hate. Some people voted for the economy that they think that they're struggling in, which might be them. He literally made fun of people working at McDonald's, and you guys took it as, oh, he's down with the regular people. He rode a trash truck, and you guys were like, we're trash. That's why we're gonna go to your rallies and wear a trash truck uniform because we're idiots. You're in a fucking cult. I don't understand how you assholes can't figure that out. You're being lied to. You claim that we're being too elitist because we're the ones who are educated, yet we're the ones who weren't conned by a con man. A blatant fucking con man. He told you he doesn't care about you, he just cares about your vote. He said he loves the poorly educated. He made sure to tell other people that the problem is that they're not getting the representation because the elites are the problem. The guy who owns how many places? Most of them in gold? And you're going to say that the Democrats are elitist? What the fuck are you talking about? The Democrats had a plan and then destroyed it. They people like George Clooney were like, well, I can't put money into Biden, and that's because people don't want Biden. And yet, on election day, how many Google searches were for when did Biden get off the ticket? Who's replacing Biden? Who is Harris? What are their policies? Do you not understand that most people don't fucking pay attention, and you literally push out a guy who now people are like, he did a horrible job? Yeah, because you pushed him out without actually doing it in the right way. You should have talked to him and had it happen before he announced. He should have said, I don't announce, and that I'm going to then put forward a primary. Apparently people were pissed about that. As VP, you would be next in line, Harris, so it just makes sense. But from a standpoint of people wanted a primary, but also at the same time, they didn't want to put in the effort on any of the election where 90 million people didn't vote. I mean, come on. Like, if you're gonna put this in a situation of, well, we can't convince 90 million people that, you know what, maybe the policies that were there weren't the best, but they didn't try to kill us. Trump was trying to kill us. Biden was trying to save us. You assholes and the conspiracy theorists need to shut the fuck up because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you're looking at things on the internet and saying this is what's happening. The attack on the pizza place in Washington, D.C., where they were claiming that pedophiles was because of right-wing stupid media that got conspiracy theory assholes to say, well, this is what it is. They're same as the flat earthers. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they take one concept of something and don't expand upon it. They don't look at it in any other dimension than one dimension. Goddamn can't look at it in 2 or 3D. I mean, God, it's not like we live in a 3D world. Oh, wait! I'm sick and tired of all this bullshit where we call and you tell us that we're not able to yell at you. Then I was trying to have a conversation, and you basically said, well, we're not going to do anything because we're trying to keep our promise that we were going to have this election and it wasn't going to be questioned by anyone. Well, what the fuck are you doing? That's the point of what the Republicans did. They fought for them. Even though they were wrong, they fought for them because it seems like they were actually trying to do something. You weren't trying to do something. You literally allowed all this to happen, and then you went to the inauguration, and you were like, we're cool with this. We want to make sure that we stay on good terms with the future president so that we can make sure that this transition goes well. But what about the fucking previous transition? What about the time where he stole top secret documents? What about the time where the Republicans used to care about things like this? They don't. They're cultists now, and the people who aren't in the cult don't have a spine to stand up to anybody else but their voters who they push back on and say, well, you know what? We're trying to keep our institutions. What institutions? They're destroying them. They put in assholes who are trying to destroy everything. That's the point. Put in people who are trying to destroy everything so that all of the things happen all at once. If you listen to Steve Bannon, he said, we're going to flood the zone and we're going to make it miserable for them to be able to keep up with everything. Yeah, and you're allowing it. You're not pushing back on it, and that's the point, is they're allowing to go on with this, and they're allowed to continue with this bullshit because you won't push back. The leadership is broken in the Democratic Party. They have no message. They need to do something, and they need to put people like AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Jared Moskowitz, all of the people who are fighting for us, who are pushing back on this bullshit. I can't believe that there are companies who are bowing to this piece of shit and saying, we're going to do what you say, sir. We're going to change our maps from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America because we don't want to fear you. Okay, act like the Associated Press and say what it is. You can't change something that existed since the 1500s because you want your name on something. The small government Republicans were okay with expanding the military to Space Force when the Air Force already took care of that. I get that there's going to be problems in space and that we need to address them, but you're allowing all of these things to be destroyed, and then you're allowing him to create all these things in his name so that it looks like he did the most in American history. Yeah, he did the most to destroy it. He's a traitor. He's a treasonous piece of shit, and he needs to be taken out of office before he destroys our entire lives like he almost did with COVID. You allowed him to do this because you allowed him to push false information. You didn't push back. You didn't have the experts more out there. You had people who were like, well, we're going to do what we think is right. Well, what is right? When people are dying. There are people dying every single day, and you guys were apparently not in a place where you were like, well, we need to say what's really happening. They removed all of the planning for all of these things back in 2018 for when they got rid of the pandemic office, and then whoops, 2 years later we have a pandemic. Now they're getting rid of the nuclear people who are in charge of our nuclear weapons. They're reducing all of these programs by 84%, 90%. They're getting rid of all these people without understanding what their job is. They bring in Elon Musk and say all these different things about, well, Elon knows what he's doing. No, he doesn't. He brought in coders, 19, 20-year-old coders. As a programmer myself, I'll say bullshit. They shouldn't be anywhere near that thing. They don't know what they're doing, and they're using AI to say, what is not right about this? Well, that's not the point. You don't understand why everything's connected. If you knew why everything was connected, you wouldn't do this. That's why people who were relying on farm aid and then got their farms frozen because they couldn't actually get that money back. They invested their money because they said the U.S. government said that they were going to back them. And they voted for you, and then you decided, no, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to freeze everything and then destroy people's lives because, I want more money. All you're doing is taking money. This is a giant grift. You're taking money from the government agencies, and you're going to say, oh, well, we saved $1 trillion. Okay, but you also stole $4 trillion. So why is that okay? Why are you upset that there was $45 million for condoms in Gaza, which wasn't true, but you're not upset about people taking trillions as part of a tax cut for the rich? The people who actually don't need any tax cuts are going to get more tax cuts so that you can suffer. And you voted for it. You voted for whatever it is, MAGA people. Now you're pushing back and saying, well, this isn't my fault. Yes, it is. Not entirely. 77 million people were like, this Biden guy was terrible. And so Harris won't be any better. So let's go to a domestic terrorist who has 34 convictions and others that should have been going first, which have severe consequences like stolen nuclear documents from other countries, or ours at his Mar-a-Lago bullshit club where he's apparently having a shadow government. That shadow government is doing a great job at making sure that people suffer. There's the what's happening that you can see in that what Caroline Levitt, whatever her fucking name is, she's an idiot, comes out and says and defends all of his bullshit, but she goes along with it because she has no soul. She has no morals. She doesn't care about facts. She just wants to get that soundbite for Fox News. Yeah, that's all it is about now. It's about sound bites. It's about making sure that you're hurting other people, sticking it to the liberals, making sure that they hurt first, not realizing that you're going to hurt as well and maybe first. Look, if they take away the Department of Education, good luck, MAGA states. You're going to have real smart kids. They don't know anything about the world. They think that slavery was a good thing, apparently. I don't know where that came from, but apparently then it's okay to salute Hitler and basically turn our government into a right-wing Christo-fascist bullshit state that has nothing to do with anything that people care about. You are pushing this bullshit, you lied to them, and then when they are pissed off at you, you're going to use your military that you claim is your military that you're going to push against the American people because they are not bowing down to you. I will never fucking bow down to you. You're an asshole. You deserve to suffer, Trump. You are a domestic terrorist. Why aren't people angrier? This is bullshit, and people don't seem to pay attention. So now we have to get angry, and we have to do things like this, and do a 45-minute currently rant about how the government's fucked up. And then you're going to say that, oh no, the government's not fucked up. We're doing all the things that we wanted to do. Yeah, but you don't understand anything behind them. You're saying, well, why are we spending all this money on Ukraine when you don't understand why we're defending Ukraine? You get pissed off when we compare Trump to Hitler and say, he hasn't killed millions of people yet. The yet is doing a lot there. The fact is if you get to a point where you have a Hitler, it's too late. You've already allowed it. You are the frog sitting in the water, just dum-da-da-da-dum, as it's heating up, and then you burn and you boil to death. That's what's happening. We're sitting in all this, and I've been calling for years to Congress saying, do something, and no one's doing anything. They are giving that power back to Trump because they're not pushing back for us. Some of them are, but not the people who need to be. That's the problem. They keep wanting to go to, oh, well, we need the endorsement of Taylor Swift. No, we needed the endorsements of people who were actually against Trump after his first term. We need to get those people out there and show why he is a terrible person, why he is a domestic terrorist, why he let 140 officers get hurt on January 6th, why he allowed people to go and hurt others and make it a point to say, well, we love you. I don't know what happened. I guess we didn't win this time. And then you push back on all of this bullshit with your legal assholes who somehow managed to get the Supreme Court, who's corrupt with Alito and Thomas, and you assholes are like, well, the Supreme Court said that he's allowed to do all this shit. So then when Biden was in office, could he have just said, I want to have SEAL Team 6 address the problem? And that would have been okay? Because that was a legal thing according to he was protecting the country? You don't seem to understand where the consequences are of your actions, and then when your actions hit you, you get upset. When you wanted to hurt other people, not understanding how it would eventually hurt you. The healthcare system, you want to attack the healthcare system by putting RFK Jr. in there? He's a fucking psychopath. He's against vaccines. He wants people to stay away from them, but the reason we don't have these problems is because we have fucking vaccines. So you're going to put someone in charge of the health who doesn't understand anything about health, who had a brainworm and was able to apparently use that to say, oh, I know what it's like because I had a brainworm. Know what what's like. We're living in an insane time where people are against health and then being like, well, why are my kids sick? Because you allowed people to tamper with all of the systems we put in place. Like, they're going after the EPA. The EPA protected kids for a number of decades from unsafe conditions. Now you want to allow that back because Trump says, well, you can't destroy business. You can leave a little bit of the environment left. Yeah, what happens when there's a little bit of the environment left? It's too late. There's nothing you can do. So we put in these policies to protect everybody, and then at the end of the day, nothing's done. You then go on this vaccines were the problem, and I don't want to wear a mask, Trump was saying, because I don't want it to affect my makeup. So in doing so, because one asshole didn't want to admit the truth that he paints his face orange, that he instead put millions at risk because of the fact that these conspiracy theory assholes got onto it because the President of the United States said so. So it clearly is true because you're a liar and you lied to all of them and they don't seem to understand it. You wave this little thing in front of them and say, look at what I'm going to give you. And then he's taking trillions from you. You assholes focus on the Second Amendment and you say, oh, well, we need to protect against the tyrannical government. There's a tyrannical government and you're allowing it. You're participating in it. You're making sure that people are doing what they continue to do and make sure everyone hurts so that you can feel safe. But if you're not safe, then what about everybody else? So instead of fixing the problem just for you, why don't you fix the problem for everyone? I'm sick and tired of these people saying, oh, a good guy with a gun will beat a bad guy with a gun. No, apparently you've already proved that. You've already proved that 400 fucking officers cared more about their lives than the little kids who were in there, who were calling and being braver than the fucking police. You assholes should have been in jail for what you did. This is why you're saying, oh, everybody needs guns, but you don't even know how to use them, so you're the ones who are going to then be problematic when everyone has one, and then you're afraid for your life because they have a gun, and you shoot them, like you did to Tamir Rice. A little kid who had a toy gun, and you assholes thought that was going to be the end of your days. So you killed him, and then you said, whoops. So it's okay to kill people when your life is at risk. But when other people's lives are at risk, nah, I'm good. I don't want to go in there. Those bullets look fast. Those bullets look like they hurt. I don't want to go in there. And that's what happens. Because you allow the dumbest motherfuckers to get access to the stupidest guns so that you can have your playtime, you then allow them to get access to things that kill people. And you're like, well, they should have gone in. Yeah, they should have. They didn't. So unless everyone is being taught gun safety, nothing's gonna change that, because people aren't teaching gun safety to their kids. Some of them are. Some of them are good parents who are training them correctly. But then you have these assholes who give their kids guns and be like, now don't go killing anyone, and then are upset when they kill a bunch of people, like the family in Michigan, the kid in Michigan who the parents were on the run, the Crumbly was it? Family? I don't know. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I don't understand how people don't seem to understand that government affects them. We have an education policy that is basically saying each student can decide whatever they want about how things turned out in life, but we're going to teach them the things that maybe make them feel bad. Those things aren't worth it. We're not going to teach them how to be compassionate to other people about things that hurt other people. Until it hurts you, you don't care. I went through the fact that my parents got real sick with medical issues. My father died from cancer, and all these assholes are sitting there being like, you know what? I don't really care about helping other people. I'm going to make sure that if I don't have cancer, so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to make sure that I don't have to put my money into a healthcare system that is then going to help other people, which may eventually need to help me. But I have money, so it's okay, so I don't need to worry about that. But the other people, they have to suffer. What about the people who you claim, not everyone's contributing, so why should I have to contribute? Okay, so if it doesn't affect you, you shouldn't have to pay it. Got it. I don't have kids. I don't want to pay for your kids' education. But you have the ability to go to a private school, but other kids don't. They have to go to a school that is publicly funded, and you're trying to take that funding away. Because you don't want to have these woke ideologies that push on your white fragility. And I'm white. I think white people need to grow the fuck up. The fact that people in Florida were like, you can't say anything about gays because I then have to explain that to my child. Good. Explain it to your child. If you can't, then let a public school do it. But you don't want to have that conversation, or you're bigoted enough to say, no, I don't want these people to have rights. These people are different from me. They shouldn't be allowed here. And then when it affects you, like some of these people who voted for Trump and then their wife or husband got deported, and they're like, well, how was I supposed to know? Because it affects you too. You don't understand this. And then you say, well, I regret voting for him. You did it how many times? 77 million people were idiotic enough to vote for this piece of shit, who then destroyed some people's lives, and then they're like, well, those are unintended consequences of all of his actions. No, they're intended consequences. You weren't paying attention when we were yelling about it before the election. Millions of people were saying, don't vote for a criminal. In Liar Liar, there's that whole scene where he has to tell the truth, and he goes to his client, stop breaking the law, asshole! That's what we need. Not the other stuff from Liar Liar, but that's what we need. We need the pain that people were feeling to be before they feel it. People don't seem to understand that if you are affected, then other people are affected. If other people are affected, you're affected, because it's an interconnected system and we live in a global society. So you're taking all the things that we had in trying to push back on Putin, and you're giving it all away because you think that that's the right thing to do, and Putin won't go any further than Ukraine. He doesn't want anything other than Ukraine. He wants his land back. No, he wants to be an asshole dictator who takes over the countries, and you're not going to realize it until you give him enough power that he's able to do that. So you can't give him power, and that's what Congress seems to be doing now, and that's what piece of shit DT, domestic terrorist, is doing now. He wants to be buddy-buddy with Putin, and that's what's happening. So you're going to sit there and say, all of these things Trump knows how to fix, and yet what has he fixed so far? You said he was going to fix grocery prices. Grocery prices? Gas prices? You think that he's going to fix that, and that he was the solution? How dumb are you? He doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself. He doesn't care that he's destroying things that people need. He doesn't understand what probationary means, so he's like, oh, that means they're bad, so they're going to be terminated. You know, the 30-year veteran who decided, I'm going to go work for the private sector, and started at a job, and then apparently that's considered probationary. So those probationary situations are not the exact same thing as somebody who is on probation, which the current president is. So you're telling me that you're cool with a guy who can't own a gun because he's on probation, but he can have the keys to the nuclear weapons, and then steal the nuclear information, and then give it to Putin probably. Give it to other countries for the top bidder, because he wants to be rich and be the richest person in the world, and yet he's standing next to the richest person in the world, destroying people's lives because they think that 45 million saved on condoms in Gaza is going to change anything, which it wasn't even real. If we're going down that route, then maybe we should say, you know what? I don't like the fact that Vance fucked the couch. Did he? Who knows? But apparently, that's where we went to. Because apparently the American people can't understand the fact that there's bigger issues, and while comedians might focus on some things, they make jokes about it, they're more honest than the people who are in the news. The people who are in the news are putting out this bullshit information and being like, why can't we all get along? And yet they're the ones who are contributing to why we are in the situation that we are in. Harris and Walz wanted to fix things. They wanted to make things better for people. You assholes were like, I can't vote for a woman. I can't vote for a black woman. I can't vote for an Asian American black woman. I don't understand how those two things are happening. How can someone be black and Asian American at the same time? Oh, really? You don't understand how DNA works? Gee, what a shocker. You want to take away Medicare and privatize it. Taking away Medicare is going to do great things for everybody, right? Hurt the oldest and most vulnerable people that we have out there, including my mother. So you assholes want to make sure that she suffers so that you can have more money. Why? Why is that the case? Why can't you make? Why isn't making $170 billion in a couple weeks not actually good enough for you? Why don't you take all that you just had, Elon Musk, and donate it to all the causes that need to be dealt with? But no, instead you want to go after free lunch for kids in school because kids shouldn't be allowed to eat because a starving dog is more ready to fight. Well, yeah, but a starving dog also can't fight for, their life when they're 7 or 8 because they're children. And you assholes said you care about children. This is all for the children, right? We're doing this for the children. And yet you want to take food away from kids, take healthcare away from kids, take lodging away from kids so that you guys can make more money. And then you can say, look, we went after the liberals. Instead of the fact that you were trying to make the country better. You weren't. You aren't. Both before and now, all you're doing is bullshit. You're saying that you're making saving money and then taking $1 billion more. So don't sit there and say that Doge is a good thing. Now to get into Doge. Doge was a meme coin that was in like 2013, but over a picture in 2010. The point is that in 2013, they were like, hey, we need to have something that competes with Bitcoin. And let's take something that's the dumbest meme coin out there, Doge. Doge was a dog. And they basically were like, ha ha ha, let's put this dog on a coin and make it into a joke. Then Elon Musk got a hold of it, and he pushed that out, and he made a number of people buy that coin, which then increased the value of that coin and made it almost a whole cent. Then other people were like, oh, well, let's short this one, and we'll make it so that we can go to the next level and then say, maybe we can get it to 40 cents, 50 cents, maybe even $1. But at the same time, that's not what Elon Musk took out of it. What Elon Musk took out of it was the meme. So he took a meme and then made it into when Trump wins, we're going to be the Department of Government Efficiency. And people are like, yeah, that's what we need. A foreigner who steals money from people because he has funds that are coming from the U.S. government, from your tax dollars, who going into his businesses, and then he's going to go into yours and take away the money that you put everything into. Those farmers keep getting screwed, and they keep having to be bailed out by us because Trump is an asshole and doesn't understand the economy. He doesn't understand that if you remove us from the world economy, you're going to make us worse and other people better. And say, you know what, we're going to take everything away. So all of that goodwill, the money that we spent on Ukraine, not actually having it go into a full-scale World War III where we actually need to send troops on the ground, which means that your kids will go out there, and the people who might be going out there might be the kids that voted for themselves, or their parents voted for them to go to war because they're too stupid to understand what Trump was doing. He said he didn't want wars, and then he's like, let's end this other war by giving away Ukraine, and then let's end this other war by making all these other people mad at us, the entire rest of the world. So you're going to side with Putin and allow him to do everything because you don't want to make him mad, and going into NATO country would make it so that we would have to respond. So you want to make it so that we don't have to respond by pulling us out of NATO and invoking Section 5. Section 5 was only used once before, on 9/11, when other people helped us. So you're going to turn your back on the only people who helped us because you're upset that they said mean things about you. You're a child. You need to stop being this piece of shit and say what you are doing because people think that what you're doing is not what you're doing. You have the Project 2025, which is totally different from Agenda 47. Don't make that mistake. You have to understand that they're not the same thing. And then when Project 2025 is admitted as, yeah, it was the thing all along, and now they're enacting it, that now you're questioning whether or not Project 2025 was the situation the whole time. It was. You were lied to, and I don't understand how, because I literally just see fraud. I see a con man who's telling people that he's a good salesman when he's not. He's good at selling himself and selling what he could do, but then doesn't follow through with the things that he should be doing and follows through with the things that he shouldn't be doing. He went after people who didn't even need to be going after. Like, why would you go after people who are trying to protect our nuclear weapons and get rid of their jobs because of some bullshit DEI option that you think that's happening? Nuclear weapons don't care about DEI. They care about who does the job. This isn't about DEI. This is about you taking away people who are working on actual things that affect our country, like nuclear weapons, and you're saying, nah, those people now don't need the money. But if you're going to do that, you need to do it properly. You can't just cut it off. But that's what he's doing. You're just allowing the biggest dick in the world to cut off all of ours. Why? So that you can say that you went after the liberal elite, when in fact you're only hurting everybody else. Let's talk about abortion. You have a problem with babies dying in the womb. But you don't seem to understand that not everything that is done is about the baby in the womb. It's also about the mother, who you apparently don't care about once the baby is born. And then once the baby's born, you don't give a shit about that baby either because you took away their free lunches in school. Also, a billionaire can go and say, hey, look, I took money from little kids. I'm pretty sure that's the whole stealing candy from a baby. Most people don't do it because it's fucking horrific. You're telling kids that they shouldn't be allowed to eat unless they get good grades, but instead they can't get good grades because they don't have anything to eat. And you're claiming that, oh, well, we need to leave that to the parents. The parents who obviously aren't feeding the kid because they're in a horrible situation where they're working paycheck to paycheck, and you're able to just say, you know what, I'll allow that to happen and keep going. Because you want to hurt other people and you don't understand how it hurts yourself. Abortion is not happening just by people who voted for Harris. They're happening from people who voted for Trump who didn't understand that that's what he was going to do. Didn't pay attention to what their states have already been doing. Didn't pay attention to what the elected officials said that they wanted to do, which is have a national abortion ban. And then other people in states were like, well, that doesn't affect us because we're in a state that allows it. That's not how a national ban works. That's the problem. Is that they wanted to leave it to the states, and instead of leaving it to the states, they took it too far and went, which they were going to do obviously, and went past that to say, you know what, we're going to both restrict it, and then we're going to ban it from people, and then we're going to make sure that that those people don't have to suffer for the pain of that baby. And then they're like, oh, so you're going to suffer for the pain of that baby? Grow up. Who cares? That's what they say to you, because they have no morals, they have no sense for other people, they don't give a shit about others unless it affects them. So you voted for somebody who didn't care about you, didn't care about other people, you didn't care about other people, but you care about yourself. Do you see where that's a problem? Where you're just allowing a guy to quote, dictate what you do for life. And there are those people who are saying, oh, well, we need that father to come in and smack us in the ass. Okay, so you want to call him daddy? Like, why are the Republicans calling him daddy? Why are they dressing up like convicts and being like, ha ha ha, our guy's a convict, ha ha ha. Like, you have no morals. You sit there and you say Barack Obama was the least moral president, and yet he didn't cheat on his wife, and your guy cheated on multiple wives with multiple women, which then he married, and then some of them he didn't marry, and he paid them $130,000 to shut up before an election so that he wouldn't lose that election due to that information coming out. Yeah, and then he used that to say, well, I'm going to shut her up. She then went out and said, I'm not going to allow that, and then he made sure that she suffered. She had people trying to destroy her life because he sent his MAGA assholes after them, and they did their job by making her miserable so that she feels the pain, the wrath of the king. That's what they feel. And that's why they're assholes. And that's why the SS weren't allowed to just get away with, hey, Hitler told us to do it. That's not how it works. But apparently you're allowing it. And it works if people allow it. A democracy is only good if you fight for it, and you're not fighting for it. You gave up on it. You made it into a situation where it was about these things and not about this. Instead of the fact that you don't understand how to portray a global pandemic with a shortage of information and products because we weren't able to get that going during COVID, and instead of us relying on other people, you were like, I'm going to fight with our own people by stealing money and supplies from them so that they can go and suffer. So the blue states, they can suffer because they're not going to vote for me again. So we'll make sure that they get hit. Well, if the blue states get hit, where things happen like conferences, and then those conferences go back to other places, then that's how it spreads. But you idiots don't understand that. Climate change is real, and anyone who says differently is an idiot. You're being led by an idiot who doesn't want to admit climate change is real because he is all for people destroying the environment. He said it before. He said you can't hurt business, but you can leave a little bit of the environment. Yeah, that's not how the environment works. Have you ever seen Biodome? So all of these things come down to stupid people saying, those elitists don't understand us, and then say, well, why were these elitists not telling us all that we need to worry about? Well, we did, and you laughed at us. We said, he's going to do this, and you said, no, he won't. We said, he's a domestic terrorist, and you said, haha, your TDS is showing. The only TDS is the people who actually put the time in to defend a piece of shit who doesn't care about them. I'm calling him a piece of shit because that's what he is. You guys seem to worship him, and I don't understand why. Why, MAGA? Why would you support someone who makes fun of you, never would allow you to be in his house, and we're okay with all these things happening because it wasn't him? They allowed all of this to occur on you and go after you because you didn't pay attention to what he was saying he was going to do. Oh, well, how was I supposed to know he was going to put tariffs that would affect me? He said he was going to put tariffs that would affect you. Well, he said tariffs, but he didn't explain what tariffs were properly, and people kept lying about what it was. So because people don't understand what it was, they didn't understand there was a tax on Americans, and in doing so, he made sure that people are now in trouble because the price of steel has gone up. The price of everything has gone up. And now people who relied on that for low cost are now having to pay higher costs, which means that they have to then transfer that to their customers, which means higher prices. That's how an economy works, is if you don't understand one, you're going to destroy it. You sit there and focus on job creation, and yet you destroy the entire federal government without understanding what it does. You say, hey, we don't need that piece of rope, when that piece of rope was holding on everything that we were doing. You can't just pull something out and not have severe consequences. When you pull out of Afghanistan, and trust me, that was bad, but Trump was responsible for having a negotiation with the Taliban without actually having Afghan government in as well. So they basically set up a negotiation behind the backs of the people who they'd be negotiating with, and they're doing the same thing in Ukraine with Russia, and they're doing the same thing with Israel and Gaza. They just want people to be able to take over land and it be okay. Because Trump wants to take over land. He wants to take over Greenland. He wants to take over the Gaza Strip, which is absolutely insane. But he also wants to make Canada our 51st state. Because he's upset that D.C., which is a small city compared to the large country of Canada, that he's going to get more people to support him. Canadians hate him. The rest of the world hates him. He's an asshole. People voted for bullshit, and the 90 million people who didn't vote ruined it for everyone. This is not what the Founding Fathers wanted. Even though some of their ideas were dumb, this was specifically written in the Constitution, and the Supreme Court was like, nah, we're good. We don't want anybody to be held accountable because we're actually the ones who are stealing a lot of money too, so we don't want to be held accountable either. So Clarence Thomas and Alito are stealing money and then being your money and then being like, well, you also don't get rights. So he's taking away your money, he's taking away your rights, he's taking away everything from you, and then he's acting like he's the one who's being threatened when everyone else's lives are ruined because of him. So it's totally cool because he got what he wanted. Billionaires got more tax breaks so that they can be richer, and you're going to be poorer. All of the states who voted for him that are going to be hurt by him are the problem. If you have a state like California, New York, Massachusetts, who put more money into the federal government than they get back. So all of the things that are good for you guys are because the blue states were holding you up. So if we took away our federal dollars, you would get less. That's what you don't understand. You think that you understand something because Trump told me, but then you don't actually understand it because he didn't understand it himself, or he was doing it in a way to make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. This is a serious problem, and people seem to think that we're just going to be able to get through it, that we'll get it in the next year and a half. That's not how it works. If he has people in the state government who then say, we're not going to have an election, then we can't have enough votes to get there, and that's what he wants, because then the House of Representatives can vote for him to be in power, because they have more states, because only states get one vote. So California gets the same number of votes as, Wyoming, who has like 20 people and 7 million cows. I don't know, I've never been to Wyoming, but I assume. So my point is that all of these things that seem to understand, or people seem to understand that it won't affect them, then it affects them, and they're upset. They're angry, they're pissed off, they're looking at their vote and saying, what did I vote for? That's not what I voted for. He said he was going to do this, and he didn't. Because he lied to you. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't want you. He wants the billionaires around him. He doesn't want the normal people who, he says are disgusting. He uses you for your vote and then fucks you over. And you're okay with it because you don't understand how he's fucking you over. And then you say, well, the elite are acting too smart, and they don't actually make sense to us, and we want someone who talks to us, not down to us. And it's like, well, you need to pay attention that he's not talking down to you. He's acting like you are the dumbest people in the world, and he's not even talking down to you. He's just not even talking to you. He doesn't care about you anymore. He used you. And until you realize that and decide that you want to take your country back into a bigger group of people than apparently the Democrats could put together, because 90 million people didn't vote, then that's what we have to do. We have to put together a movement that's going to actually go after and take people who are struggling, take people who are hurt by this, take people who didn't understand what they were voting for, and try and educate them so that going forward this doesn't happen again, if we can get out of it. That's a big if, because the Republicans are doing shit right now to stand up to them. And they're when the people stand up to him, they say, "You're a bunch of babies just whining about things and comparing that town hall to January 6th like a fucking idiot and saying that this is the same thing. It's not." One of them was during the only time in the country where the election would be certified, and that was meant to be stopped. You doing a town hall had nothing to do with that. So you don't understand what you're saying, or you're purposely trying to muddy the waters. Sorry, muddy waters. But basically, it just turns out to be you want to make it a mess so that you can say everyone does the same thing. That's the Russian playbook. Push back on things that you're doing and claim other people are doing it. You called Biden a dictator, and then you're like, no, Trump's not being a dictator, even though he said he wants to be a dictator. On day one. Okay, sure. Like, I don't understand how people believe that. I don't understand how we're in a situation where people don't understand the basic concepts of anything. Understand how voting works, understand how the government works, and then they want to destroy it, and then when it hurts their lives, they're like, well, why is this happening? The reason we have regulations is to prevent things bad from happening that happened previously. So, should there be some regulations that can be looked at? Sure. But getting rid of all regulations so that the business is wide open to do whatever they want and destroy the environment, and then obviously they leave a little bit left, right? You're going to leave a little bit left. We don't care about any of that. We want to make sure that we have clean water and clean air. And yet you're getting rid of the things from the EPA that help with clean water and clean air. You're getting rid of all the things that we put out as soft power so that we wouldn't have to go to war. And you assholes were like, why are we spending $45 million on condoms in Gaza? Even if we were spending $100 million, it doesn't compare to what we spend in the military and what Trump is trying to put into effect to take over Gaza and all of that. He wants to get something out of this. He wants to take a percentage of that and then give the rest to Israel and say, look, we're going to develop on this and turn into the Riviera of Gaza. And it's like, but you don't understand what it is that you're trying to do. You're just giving land away and then being like, hey, what if we made money off of this? That's not how everything works. The government isn't supposed to make money on people hurting. Like, you shouldn't be making money while other people are, well, that money that you're making from other people suffering is why you're making it. You can make all the money you want if you're doing it through a fair way. But Elon Musk going in and saying, I'm going to have access to $7 trillion of Treasury money and access to all of your information because you don't pay attention to what's happening. Elon's going in and has access to your social security number and is probably opening up accounts in your name, which is why you should freeze your accounts to make sure nobody can open an account in your name unless you are intending it. And that's what's happening, is that they're trying to fuck you over so that they can then make a mess of the what's happening, so that they can then claim that it was broken to begin with and that we needed to fix it. And so there's going to be pain at the beginning so that we can fix it. But they're not going to fix it. They're going to steal trillions of dollars over, a couple of years, or 10 or 20 or however long this dictatorship goes until the Democrats decide to act and push back on this with Republicans who actually have a spine. All of this is happening because you are afraid of your voters, and yet really you're afraid of the 1% of the 1% of assholes who are loud in this country. And apparently you need to be loud to be taken seriously. So I'm being loud. I had a list of items that I wanted to discuss, but none of this was written down. This is all from my head because I'm pissed. I'm mad at what's happening, and people aren't paying enough attention. We act like there's serious problems that we can't solve, and then the ones that we shouldn't solve, they want to solve. They're like, oh yeah, why aren't we getting along with Russia? That's something we need to solve. No, that's not something we need to solve. We know why we're not getting along with Russia, but you're allowing it to happen. You're pushing his bullshit and calling Zelensky a dictator. He's not a dictator. You want to be a dictator. You are supporting a dictator. Now you're going to use Pam Bondi as the Attorney General and Kash Patel as FBI Director to basically ruin people's lives who are standing up against you. They will suck your ass till it's dry and then be like, can I have some more? Because they're idiots and they think that he's going to like them. He won't. He hates everybody who doesn't help him. It's him at the end of the day. Again, watch CGP Gray's Rules for Rulers on YouTube and tell me that that's not exactly what's happening right now. You need to wake up, people. Why aren't you angrier? This has been going on for a long time because the Republicans won't stand up to him, and they are either afraid of him because he's threatening them with either information on them or with actual attack on them by, his MAGA assholes. They will do anything for him because they think that he's just gonna pardon them, and apparently he does. Because he's like, oh, we care about the police, but apparently we're going to pardon all the people who went after the 140 officers who got hurt and the 1,000 who were there or so who were trying to fight for our democracy, and you assholes were trying to fight for a dictator. A dictator. Dictator. I don't understand how we fought World War II to escape, to have Europe escape an asshole who was trying to take over the world, and we did so by getting a bunch of countries together and using that as the Allied forces. But no, you're gonna go and join fucking Germany in 1933 and start taking out all of the things that make it a democracy and turn it into a dictatorship. You want to consolidate power in your hands so that you can't ever leave office. Because then it's legal for them to not allow to kick you out of office. Because you're mad that the people who, quote, voted you in were voting for things that you were lying about. So you used all of those people. You need to get your ass off the proverbial toilet, or actual toilet, and do fucking things for this country that make it better. You had a chance at the beginning of 2017, Trump, to turn this into a different situation when you were elected. You got elected through bullshit, and people were hoping that you were going to turn it around. And every time that's like Republicans would say, he's turning it around. He's not going to be that person. He's being more presidential. Yeah, overthrowing the U.S. government. Real presidential. You know that that happened in Brazil after us, and Bolsonaro used Steve Bannon's concept to basically allow that to happen. And then the Supreme Court in Brazil was like, you're not allowed to run for office for 10 years. And instead, we were like, nah, you can just run again, and we're not going to do anything to stop you, even though it's in the Constitution. And the Democrats and Republicans know better, but they are too afraid because they don't want to be held by their voters as weak. But instead, they're looking weak to the rest of the world because now the rest of the world is saying we can't depend on our ally to help us go after Russia and Ukraine and get them out. You're going to go and side with Russia in Ukraine and make sure that they get whatever land they want. You're going to make sure that Zelensky has to give up everything and Putin has to give up nothing. What should Putin give up? One of your spokespersons was asked that, and they couldn't answer because, well, they did, but they said bullshit answer about how, this is how we're going to get respect around the world. And it's like, no, you don't seem to understand what the world is saying about us because you live in your little bubble of Fox News telling you that everything's okay. And yet you saying that, Canada and Greenland want to become part of the U.S. And when you go there, they don't because they hate you. And you're going to go on a rant about how Mexico and Canada are being mean to you, and that's why you have to impose tariffs on them, not understanding that they were going to impose tariffs on us. Because of course they would. Because the country's not just going to allow that if they think they're being taken advantage of. I feel like there was someone in office who signed something that was about Canada and Mexico and U.S. Oh, God, that name escapes me. Was it Donald Trump who put that deal together? And then he calls it the dumbest deal in the history of the world? You're the one who did it. You took out the original and put in your USMCA. That USMCA that you signed apparently is horrific for us, and we did a bad job negotiating it. Yeah, that was you. So why are you saying that you can negotiate any better? All you're going to do is give away the land to Putin and allow him to do whatever he wants. You talk about border security. Border security, the Democrats gave up so much to come to the table to get that bill put together with Langford and in the Senate, and you were saying, no, we can't sign that because Trump says that it's bad, and he wanted to use that as a wedge for the election. And apparently it worked because you think that he was going to stop it. He got less out of it than he did from Biden, and then he also agreed to it, or said that he signed a deal that was already done in December when you weren't in office. And you keep saying, oh yeah, it was the intent that I was going to be in office. That's not how society works. You are sitting there saying, well, we're doing a great job, and yet everything's falling apart. What is your deal with people who are different than you? Transgender people, gay people, black people, that's not white, you're offended by apparently. You're just dumb. You're just not good enough for the job. If your job is getting taken by a foreigner, then it's because they're either better at than you, or you weren't able to do your job and they were able to do it faster. So if you got let go, it's because of your incompetence. Don't blame it on DEI. The fact is that DEI is only to allow the wider net to be cast. Instead of looking at only white people who went to Harvard, maybe look at other people who went to other schools, because they can offer something as well. But they have to have some merit to it. You know, like Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, because he knows exactly how to communicate with the rest of the world, because he was on Fox News, which he only talked to you because you only were the only one that they cared about listening. So, like, it just seems like you don't understand anything about the world and then want to blame everything on everything else except for the fact that you are responsible for a lot of this. It's your fault. And MAGA, you're responsible. That one girl on TikTok saying, I'm not responsible, after saying I was all in for Trump, and saying I'm not the only one responsible for voting for him, so don't come after me. It's like you put it on the TikTok saying that this is why you were all down with Trump 100%, and then as soon as it hurts you, you then say, well, that's not what was happening, and I disagree, and you guys are just butthurt, and that's all it is. And it's like, no, they were actually hurt. They were actually hurt by policies that you voted for that you didn't understand, and you're too childish to admit that you can't that you were wrong. This is all about ego for people. If you're wrong, say you're wrong. But you keep going along with it and double down, triple down, quadruple down on idiocy with no actual proof. You go with these conspiracy theories that are insane. They're proved that they're wrong, and then you're like, no. They're right. So, like, that's what we end up with a situation where people who are basing their vote on things that they see on the internet, and that you guys are pushing as fake news so that you can make sure that people vote for you instead of the other people who are coming for them. Except for the fact that you're the one who are coming for people. You're the ones who are using political persecution against people because they tried to follow the law and take you the fuck out of government because you're a fucking traitor. That's what they did. And then you went after them in retribution for 10 of those 10 people who voted for you, and you were like, nope, all of them are gone. And your MAGA assholes made it happen because you are a piece of shit and they will follow you to the end of the earth, and you're saying, no, I don't want them to cause violence, while saying cause violence. You're admitting that you want to cause violence, and then saying they don't listen to me. They do. Everyone who works for you sucks your ass and they listen to you. I'm sick and tired of people not standing up to you and then being like, well, I'll stand up to you only if I'm on my way out. Maybe you should stand up to him and then push back and then push back and then push back. And if he lets you go, still come in. Still go do your job because you're not being fired for a good cause. You're being fired by someone who's never had a job, who's never had anything to take seriously. He's lived in a golden tower his entire life, and he's basically been a nepotism baby who turned stupidity into a catchphrase. That's all he did. He turned stupidity into a catchphrase, and you idiots repeated it and repeated it, and then when nothing changed, you're like, well, I thought that's the reason that this was happening. Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist. He is a criminal. He is a traitor. He is a piece of shit, and he doesn't deserve anything that he's getting right now because all of this is fraud. Everything that he does is fraud, and you people go along with it. And the 90 million people who didn't vote are assholes who are saying, I don't have any say in this. And yet, the reason you don't have any say in this is because you didn't fucking vote. You say that, I didn't want to vote because both options were terrible. No, they weren't. You're either racist, sexist, or a bigot why you couldn't vote for someone, and then you're like, oh, well, why is it that Trump's doing this? I thought that both of them were bad. No, you fought for a guy who wanted hate, who wanted to hurt people, who said he was going after for retribution for you. For you! What retribution for you do you need? They were going after him, not you. His whole thing of they're coming after you, I'm just standing in the way. No, he's an asshole. He's always in the way, and he's always coming after you, and eventually. Look at anybody that's worked for him. There's that poem, or that saying, like, I didn't stand up to Nazis because they weren't coming after me until they did come after me. That's the point. They go after everybody else. They went after, Jews and Mexicans and black people and all these different things. And then they're like, well, I don't understand how it didn't make anything better. Because it's not about that. It's because you guys don't see through the bullshit that Fox News puts out or the right-wing media puts out. And you're allowing this to occur. You are too stupid to realize that he's stealing from you, stealing from us, using your taxpayer dollars, and then saying, well, why is it that people aren't happy with what I'm doing? Because why should we pay for taxes when you're just going to give it to Elon Musk? I don't have kids, like I said, so I shouldn't have to pay for your schooling. But I do, because kids should be educated. And I think kids should be fed in school. And I don't understand how you care about children when they're in the womb, and then you don't care about them when they're out of the womb. You won't feed them. You think that trying to get more out of the government. It's like, maybe if you had better policies that allowed people to succeed in life, then maybe this wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have the poorest states in the country run by Republicans and vote Republican. Alabama, West Virginia, Mississippi, they're all sitting there saying, well, Trump's standing up for us. He's not. He doesn't give a shit about you. He cares about himself, and the fact that you think a billionaire who sat on a golden toilet cares about you is insane. Isn't doing this for you. He's doing this for himself. Everything that he says, whenever he says, I'm doing this for the country, he's doing it for himself. Whenever he says, I'm not doing this for me, he's doing it for himself. That's what you have to understand about this prick. He doesn't care about anything but himself. And his butt, apparently. You idiots are talking about saving money and that we shouldn't put money into foreign things. And then you put money into oils to try to make us pay less in gas instead of investing in other things that would reduce our dependence on gas for the next 100 years. But instead, the companies were like, we'll give you money if you don't make it so that we can hurt the environment. So in doing so, by allowing offshore drilling, by doing all of these things that then allow people to then say, oh, we're making a profit. But then the price of gas is still high, and they were like, we're making our most profits ever. And then you're complaining to Biden that it's his reason that that gas is high, and not the fact that they are admitting that they're stealing money by getting it back. They had to invest a lot of money when COVID happened because nobody was driving, and they had to eat all of that money that they wouldn't use as much because people weren't driving. And so they wanted to get that money back, and the only way to get that money back is to keep the prices high, and then artificially, and then make billions off of it, and then say, okay, maybe we'll give you a little bit back. That's not how a government should be run. And it is. It's because they're putting money into oil when they should be putting money into batteries, putting money into the solar, putting money into wind farms. The fact is that this asshole doesn't want a wind farm because he has a fight with Scotland because they put wind farms right out in front of his course, and he doesn't like his golf course, and he doesn't like it. So he now is saying that that's not happening in the U.S. because they hurt whales and birds and things, and making all that up. All those animals that died in the BP spill. Let's not care about those people. Like, that's why we put more regulations in. And people are like, nah, they should be allowed to do whatever they want. That's how you make profit in a capitalist society. By stealing from people who are less fortunate than you, and then doing that thing that you then say, look at me, I'm rich, and pushing it in their face by saying, I stole from you, and now I'm even richer. And everybody's been doing that. All the billionaires have been doing that, and they're cozying up to him because they want the tax breaks and they don't want to get yelled at. I'm talking to you, Jeff Bezos, for being a prick and taking out the endorsement from the Washington Post because you wanted to get your tax cuts. So you thought that if that happened, that people wouldn't vote, and maybe it did. Maybe you got your tax cuts. But then what? How do you sleep at night knowing that you hurt other people and that you continue to do that? You don't, because you run a company that doesn't care about people. You care about profit over everything else. Dead bodies in a warehouse? Leave it there. It'll decompose, right? That's what you do. You care less about people and more about profit, and in doing so, you make profit by hurting other people. And that is a bullshit reason for capitalism. Capitalism should be making a good, selling that good. That's not what you're doing. You're stealing from other people and then saying, well, they can't now do this because I am in the power of creating it. Yeah, but that's the problem, is that when you can do all these things local, but at the end of the day, all of that money is going to him. Billionaires who keep buying things are so business friendly, and it's like they're not. They're here to destroy you. They want to take your money and take all the resources from the destruction of the company. So the FBI and the DOJ are just going to go after people who you don't like, who said mean things to you, who called you a prick. Oh, wait. Who called you a prick? Yeah, I'm calling you a prick because that's what you are. You're a piece of shit, and you don't deserve any of this. And we're gonna make sure that the American people take this back, because under 250-year anniversary, I'm not gonna live under a dictator who's an idiot. He's a reject, and nobody wanted him in their class because he doesn't understand anything. And in doing so, he's like, well, why should other people be smarter than you? You know, the president, who's supposed to be one of the smartest people in the world because he has the ability to communicate with others around the world. All you're doing is ruining our relationships and putting tariffs on people because you don't understand what a tariff is. You say you care about veterans, and then you take money away from the PACT Act that was put in place to prevent effects from burn pits in the different wars, and a lot of Republicans signed off on it, and they didn't originally because you told them not to. And then as soon as you got in office, you then removed that funding, because why should we support veterans? You know, you'd say I love the veterans until you make fun of them and call them suckers and losers, and then spit on the grave of people who went to war by saying I'm a king. Because you're not. You're a dick. That's what you are. That's what you'll always be. Don't focus on the fact that people hate you. Just focus on the fact that people love you. And that's all it is. It's like, hey, I took 500 throws at a dartboard and I hit the bullseye once. Okay? Did you actually hit the bullseye? No. I went up and put it in the center. So how is that actually hitting it? Because it's in the middle. It's in the bullseye. Yeah, but you didn't do it. And that's the problem, is that people don't understand that he's just putting a dart inside of the bullseye and saying, look, I'm the best. when he's not. He hasn't done anything. He won't do anything. He wants to hurt people. He wants to make sure that people feel the pain that he, quote, felt when people were attacking him when he was doing illegal and treasonous things. Yeah, that's why people need retribution. And MAGA assholes decided, you know what? I care more about the price of eggs than I do about whether or not people are hurt or not. And the price of eggs didn't go down, did it? They went up. Because there's a bird flu pandemic across, the world. And so it makes it hard for you to have eggs. But Caroline Lovett seemed to think that it's because Democrats wanted to kill 100 million chickens before Biden left. And it's like, no, they wanted to make sure that it didn't spread to more than 100 million chickens. And that's why it was done. You at some point need to get rid of the thing that's growing that's causing the reaction that you're getting. So if you have something in your body that needs to be removed because it's affecting your life, then that is something that you need to pay attention to. But you're not, because you don't give a shit about other people. You care only about yourself and your buddies who are already rich, so they don't care about how people are hurt. They don't care about the price of eggs going up a little because they're getting it at a restaurant where, or having it brought to them where they're able to just say, yeah, it's free. But as soon as you want something, quote, free or free lunch for kids, children, you then say, no, we can't give that money to people. They are going to use it poorly. They aren't going to put it to good use. We know how to put it to good use. Yeah, I thought you were small government Republicans who are fiscally responsible, right? Who obviously are cool with all of this that's happening, right? That you just remove all of this money and put it into a place where it can't be touched by because it's Elon's now property. Yeah, that's the problem. Is that you allow one thing to happen, you allow another thing to happen, and it keeps going. That's how we get to this point. That's how we have a dictatorship, is that you don't pay attention, you don't listen, and you think that everything that's happening is happening because of DEI and some bullshit argument that you don't seem to understand. So when the elites come and say, hey, we warned you, and you say, no, you didn't, it's like, yeah, we did. You called us idiots, you laughed at us, you said we had TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, and yet you don't seem to think that cozying up to a domestic terrorist asshole is going to get you far. Maybe it will for a couple of years, but then what? Then you have to face society, and society will hate you. So what is it worth it? Is it worth you destroying everything so that you can make an extra buck? Because everything's connected. Because the people who go grocery shopping are the people who are actually contributing to society. Where the people who are having, their butler prepare them something, or their body man go get them stuff, then it makes it very easy for them to ignore you. And you're the one going to the store, you're the one feeling the pain, and he said he was going to lower grocery prices and lied to you. Because we told you it wasn't about which president, it was about the fact that we are getting beat on all sides from many different types of diseases, and then you want to put RFK Jr. in there who doesn't want to give vaccines, and then we have a problem for the rest of our lives because we have to now live with this. We have to now live with things because other people were too stupid to realize how it worked. They listened to an idiot instead of listening to the experts. You never wanted to hire the experts. You wanted to hire the people who would agree with you. And when you hire people who agree with you, they don't ever tell you what the right thing to do is. They tell you what you want to hear, and that is usually the thing that you want to do. So if you want to do it, then do it. But you can't then lie about it and say, I'm not doing that. You have to be honest. Be upfront. Say it proudly if you think that you're pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. Be the person who's going to say, you know what? I did fuck you over, and I did it on purpose, and you idiots didn't pay attention. And then you're going to go, oh, but I also want a third term. So then we're going to put a law into place that would say he can have a third term, but also at the same time, he's the one who wanted to kill the whole point of elections in the first place. So it's a scam that he wants to put forward, just like the Russian talking points. The people who are fighting you are then shot down, metaphorically and physically. Then that's the problem. Is that they're going to try to keep making you feel like you're safe until you're not. because you're not a billionaire. That's what they think. They're the ones who are suffering. They are the ones who have to pay taxes on things that they themselves use, that they're able to make billions off of, and then they say, why should I invest in that? Because that's what it means to have a society. When you invest in people, when you invest in the community, it changes things. When you pull out that federal funding from that community, then that community can't function anymore. So you're pulling federal funding out because you don't understand what transgender is, and you don't understand what your role as the federal government is, that you're taking all of that and saying, I am the law, you must comply with me, or else you'll suffer consequences of electoral defeat. And it's like, that's where we're at, is a guy who can't handle being challenged by, he doesn't like strong, powerful women, and he tries to tear them down. And MAGA assholes, the bro culture, is all for it. They're like, yeah, tear those women down. And then go home and say, you better listen to me. And they either get divorced or get what they want. And neither one of them is a good option. Because you are contributing to a society that is allowing this piece of shit to continue saying everything is wrong with everybody else except for you, and we are fighting for you when they're actually fighting for themselves and trying to hurt everyone. It's not our fault that you didn't listen to us, but it is your fault that you weren't paying attention when he was saying what he was saying. You said you love him, and then you voted for him, and then you were like, but that's not the policy that I voted for. It is. He lied to you, you didn't do your research, we told you to do your research, and you didn't. That's what happens. Now you have to live with the consequences that other people are going to have to live with, but we were the ones who were smart enough not to vote for a con man. You did that. You are the one who doesn't understand anything about society and thinks that he was the right thing, and that you only listen to Fox News, and they said that January 6th didn't happen, and they said that transgender people are the worst thing in your life, and they made sure to hurt people who are just trying to live their lives, and you shouldn't give a shit about them. Why? Because you want to make it so that you can have a policy to run a culture war on. You don't understand anything about things, so you put in a situation saying, well, there's too many people who are transgender and gay now. And it's like, no, they were always transgender and gay. They just came out from being in hiding because less people were treating them like shit, like you guys are. That's why you say, oh, we can't have transgender in the military, even if that person was one of the best sharpshooters that we had. But you don't know that. You just care about the fact that they are a transgender person, whether male or female. So maybe a female who was really good with guns transitioned to be a male, and then you're going to say, oh, that person who's one of the best shooters that we have in the U.S. military, we're going to ignore that? Because we don't want to expand that net of people who we could possibly have. That Trump today decided that he wanted to get rid of C.Q. Brown, General and Joint Chiefs of Staff, because he thought that he was a DEI pick because he's black. Yeah, that's where we're at. Is he puts in someone who's a Fox News host as Secretary of Defense, and then ousts the person who has a spectacular military history and isn't accused of any sexual assault by anyone that he was working with. And that's the problem, is that you have no problem with the sexual assault because you voted for people who support sexual assault. You're a sexual assault supporter. I don't think you care about that, but that's what we call you. Because there's nothing other than that you care about. You seem to think that that's the biggest problem in our world, instead of the actual wars and the actual fucking destruction of our country that's happening. Because you're too dumb to pay attention to the right things. You see the right things as liberal elites, instead of actually giving you information that helps you to decide why this policy would be good or bad. People who vote for MAGA can't give a policy that they like of his. Or if they can, they are saying it completely wrong and using information that they got from Fox News that doesn't actually add up. And when you push back on them, they say, well, that's what I read. And I did my own research. I have no problem with you doing your own research, but when you do your own research, usually it means not falling into conspiracy theories and going along with them. This is absolutely insane, and the fact that people aren't pissed off is pissing me off. The fact that 90 million people were like, hey, this domestic terrorist could get back in office, but he won't because people won't vote for him. And then more people voted for him because that's why 90 million people needed to vote. They needed to take care of that problem and offset those numbers. But the people didn't understand that they need to offset those numbers and that a vote for my conscience of I can't vote for Biden because he didn't do right by Gaza, and now Trump wants to destroy all of Gaza, kill everybody, and then rebuild it. And you guys are like, but I didn't know. He literally said it. We warned you, and you don't understand the concept of good versus evil or attempt at good versus evil. We warned you. We knew that this would happen, and you said it won't. When everything collapses and they make billions and billions and billions of dollars and they steal $1 trillion and we lose all hope in our future and they go off and run to a different country because they have the money. That's what we're dealing with, is idiots who are voting for themselves to be taken out of their jobs, not realizing why they were being taken out of their jobs because they voted for it and not understanding that policy. They voted for something that killed their job. So I just don't understand what people are thinking when they say, yeah, we're totally going to be a better country and Donald Trump's going to make America great again. It was great before he took office. That's the thing that you don't understand. He made it worse. He's the reason we're here. The Republicans are the reason we're here. They could have stood up to him. After January 6th, McConnell could have said, I'm voting to remove him and prevent him from becoming president ever again. And you are afraid for your life, but not afraid for everybody else's life. And now when it affects your life, because other people are now coming after you, saying, why did you do this? And you're saying, well, this is what the people voted for, not realizing that people didn't know what they voted for. So you're standing up and saying, this is how it has to be, when they didn't know that that's what you were going to do, because you were lying. You said that Project 2025 wasn't your agenda, and it was. We knew it, but the people who voted for you didn't. And they took that and said, no, I want Project 2025 to occur, but I don't actually think it will. So I'm cool with parts of it, but I'm not cool with all of it. And that's what Agenda 47 was. And we took only the good things from Project 2025 and put into Agenda 47. And that's not what happened. They literally did a bait and switch on what they were selling, and then you bought it. We told you he was a con man. We told you he lied. You said he's never lied in his life. We said he told 30,000 lies in his first term, and you were like, no, mainstream media doesn't like Trump. Well, the mainstream media is the one who propped him up. They want that. They want the entertainment. They don't care about the country. They care about the click views and how they get on TV. Both Democrats and Republicans are guilty of this. There needs to be people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett who are going to stand up and fight for the people like we should have. That you are the people who we elected to go do your job for us. And when we come to you and say that we're not at a town hall and say that we're not happy with how you're representing us, the response is, well, you voted for me. And it's like, that's not how it works. If you say you voted for something because you voted for this, and then somebody puts a bait and switch and changes it completely, then you don't know what you voted for. So that's what we got. We have Elon Musk who's unelected and taking over our federal government and destroying it as the richest person in the world, trying to get rid of millions to save trillions, which he's not doing. He's stealing it. This has been a 2-hour rant, so I'm going to end with this. I despise MAGA. I despise Republicans who won't stand up to this piece of shit. I'm pissed off that people aren't angrier. This is a problem that we've never dealt with before, and we're gonna have to address it whether you like it or not. So pay the fuck attention and start being angrier. Why aren't you angrier?